Alright, gonna start the first few portions of the Torah, or like the Bible. The Torah isn't the whole Bible, but it's I think the first 5 books is the Torah, and then the rest is like the rest of the Bible. You're supposed to dive into it on your own. There are good there is so much good information in here in the first 5 books. There's good information in all of it, but you can find really a lot of information of like the purpose of life, and like why uh, God made us and whatnot, and what's His plan. Really, with the first book, you can find all that out. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be taking y'all through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and just point out some things that I feel like are important, and what what the meanings of it are. I'm trying not to go off my understanding in any of this, but God's understanding, because God is all knowing. He's all powerful. So you gotta remember that when you're reading this, because you cannot forget who God is, or what He's done, or how powerful He is and what He can do. Because you really have to have that mindset to really understand this whole book. Because the more you get into it, let's say we go to the New Testament, some people argue that the New Testament is really all you need, that uh, anything in the Old Testament doesn't matter, but I mean, it's got some. This New Testament is literally confirmation of the Old Testament, and the Old Testament is confirmation for the New Testament. It's like, I don't know. I'll have to show you, but uh, if you know, you know. If not, you'll find out. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and jump into Genesis. Uh, there's this other Bible that I've had for a while until I've got this one. It's the whole. I think this is like Salvation Army Bible. Yeah, my mom gave it to me, and I like it because it has some good information on it, like this right here. 66 book of the Bible weaved together to tell one story, the story of God, His great love for humanity. He created a beautiful world filled with amazing creatures, including people. The first man and woman rebelled against God's authority, Adam and Eve, bringing sin and death to the world, which is still happening today. Uh, but because God's love, He graciously reached in to restore humanity by being born as one of us, Jesus. Through Jesus, God initiated what He will someday complete, creation's final restoration. The Old Testament stirs up our imaginations and awakens our emotions. It's filled with real stories, stirring poems, and bracing challenges. It teaches us God's plan, reveals God's will, and helps us make decisions. By reading the Old Testament, God's people learn about who God is by observing and participating in what He does. Reading the Old Testament is like looking into a mirror, revealing our souls. It plants a seed that grows, ultimately transforming our character. Jesus emphasized the importance of understanding the Old Testament. See Luke 24, 25, 27. And Paul was referring primarily to the Old Testament when he wrote, "All scriptures is inspired by God and is useful to teach us what is true and to make us realize what is wrong with our lives." If that isn't the most, that's true, like, that's spot on right there. 2 Timothy 3:16. The Old Testament provides us with a profound knowledge of God and ourselves, and of ourselves and of the world. The Bible is an ancient book with the oldest passages written some 3,500 years ago. Of course, I'll get into like the timing and stuff of all this, because really it's the timing of all this is like, it's I'll have to explain it to you in a whole nother video. But It also comes from a culture from Near East that is widely different from ours. Knowing this will help us understand the Old Testament. The Bible's biggest story begins in the book of Genesis, a name that means beginnings, and sets the stage for the rest of the events in the scripture. Genesis starts with the account of God's creation of the world and of all of its creatures. It records humanity's first sin and consequences of that sin, alienation of all people from God, from the world, from each other, from themselves. Sin also ultimately brought death, but Genesis also contains the first hints of God's plan to rescue humanity from those consequences. Genesis tells the story of Abraham and his family, whose descendants would become the people of Israel, and one day a Redeemer would be born among these descendants. God was already weaving together the story. That's on Genesis. The books of Exodus through Deuteronomy continue the early story of people of Israel. The people escaped slavery in Egypt, received the laws that helped shape their relationship with God, and then traveled toward Canaan, their promised homeland. In the book of Joshua, they conquered Canaan. Then in Judges and Ruth, they struggled to make it their own. So, I'll drop my Bible. So all in here, this is literally like the building blocks of life right here. Genesis will literally tell you like why we're here, the beginning, and it'll literally tell you the end, what's gonna happen at the end. The first 5 books will detail that super well, and the rest of the book of the Bible can confirm. The books of the Bible will confirm it. But yeah, let's just dive right into it. I feel like I'm talking too much. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Alright, so imagine everything pitch black and dark, right? And just God and the Spirit of God hovering over this big old ocean of water, but it's just floating water and nothingness. Like, think of a empty room with just a blob of water. The whole room filled with water, but over that, the Spirit of God, Holy Spirit, hovering over it. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that light was good, and He separated light from the darkness. He called the light day and the darkness night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Alright, so first day, God made day and night, light and darkness, separated it, and that was the first day. So you can also, by learning that, you can know what day the Sabbath is. So to actually know the day, it was, okay, so first you got to go back and read. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So, big old thing of body of water, and then God's hovering over that. And this body of water is probably the whole universe. Maybe no one knows, but it's just a big old body of water. The deep. This over the surface of the deep. So maybe imagine the whole universe just water, but no planets, no nothing. Just a big old black thing of water, and God hovering right over it. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and then separated light from the darkness. Alright, so from this day you can count 6 more days, and that'll be the 7th day, and that'll be the Sabbath, because we'll find out what the Sabbath is. But remember, it was dark before there was light, and nowadays we kind of go off of as soon as it hits midnight, it's a new day. But really how their time is as soon as the sun went down, as soon as darkness was there or whatever, that was the beginning of the new day, because this very start of the day was darkness until God said, "Let there be light." So you got to understand that there was darkness in the beginning of the day. So that's how you start your days. And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from water." So let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from water. All right. So God made the vault and separated the water from water under the vault from the water above it, and it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and morning the second day. So God created the sky and space from in between the waters, and that was sky. So I mean, you could imagine a big old body of water like right here, and then God making sky, and so he created that space of all the body of waters. And he called that vault. Really, a vault? That's crazy because God thinks of the sky as like a vault, like just to put something away, like a bank vault or something like that. That's what God thinks of the sky. That's his vault. He puts the stars there. He puts his planets there, like his little stash spot. The vault. And there was evening and there was morning the second day, and God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. And God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Alright, so this is on the third day. God made land, and then he made the seas. So if you think about it like that, the land and the seas, he may have already had the earth formed or whatever. Oh yeah, now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness hovered over the surface of the water. So, okay, now you imagine the whole earth, just the whole blob of water, formless. Then God creates light. Boom, there's light. He separates darkness from light. Then he makes the sky. He creates that barrier, or what does he say? Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So he separates the sky. So now there's a whole bunch of separated waters. So that would probably mean he'd separate uh well, it says in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So he created literally all the heavens and all the earth, but it wasn't yet formed. So that's what it means. The earth was formless and darkness was empty. So it was already created. God just never, put his touch on it and do his thing. So yeah, and then on the third day he made land and the sea. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds." And it was so. So also on the third day he made land, he made the seas, or I guess that's what he called it. Or made it and then called it that. Then he made every single vegetation, plant, from your fruits, from your veggies, to literally your grass, to your bamboo or whatever you want to call it, the fern trees, evergreen trees, literally every single plant was made. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and morning the third day. So made literally all the vegetation, and it had produced seeds and fruit. So like literally luscious, super luscious land was created. And then on the fourth day, and God said, "There will be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." So this is God already putting his plan into motion. Like he already knows what's going to happen. So this shows you how he made it, why he made it, the plan of why he made it, and like just the explanation of it. The stars are to serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. So he made the sun is really a big star, so He made all the stars, you know, in the universe. So boom. Excuse me. And yeah, so later on you'll know that God knows every name to the star, and he can call every single one of them out by name. And only name of only the star knows the name too, which is amazing because God will also give us a name like that, as you'll find out later on. But and let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. So he made super big stars, you know, for like example equals the sun. Made a big old greater light, greater stars, you know, big old stars to govern the day, you know, bring us light on the day. And then the stars at night, you know, for night. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and morning the fourth day. And God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with each the water teems, and these moves about in it according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in numbers, and filled with the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening and morning the fifth day. Alright, you gotta remember this. This fifth day, God created let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly. So he literally created everything in the water and everything in the sky on the fifth day. So nothing about no land animals, I don't think. Yeah, just in the sky and in the water. And you gotta see this here. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. Remember that? Just gotta remember that, because that happens to Abraham. Abraham's descendants are blessed, and God said, hey, your descendants will be like the stars in the sky, like the grains of sand on the earth, like literally numerous. But you gotta also remember that of what it means when God says something like, if you mess with something that I have blessed, then you're cursed. It says something like that. We'll run into it in a minute. And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that moved along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that was good. So then on the sixth day he made all the living land creatures, everything on the land, every single thing that lived on land he made on the sixth day. On the fifth day he made every single living thing that flew and that was in the sea. Alright. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all creatures that move along the ground. Alright. So that they may rule, so mankind may rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, over the livestock and wild animals, and over all creatures that move along the ground. So that's man's purpose, is to rule over everything. So God created mankind in his own image, and in the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. So he only created male and female. It says right here. God blessed them and said, let them be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, and they will be yours for food. And all the beasts of the earth, and all birds in the sky, and all creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw all he made, and it was very good. And there was evening and morning the sixth day. So in the sixth day he created mankind. Then he blessed mankind. Or really, he made Adam. He blessed Adam and said, "Fill the earth, subdue it, rule over the fish, birds, everything living on the ground." He gives us all the trees with fruit and seed in it. Every almost everything, and to all the beasts of the earth and birds in the sky and the creatures of the ground that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. So that says we can eat what we can, I guess we can eat all the food of the earth. That's what it says right there, but we'll go into a deeper understanding of that. And God saw that he made, and that all that he had made, and it was good. And there was evening and morning the sixth day. So day 1 through day 6, he's just creating.